West Dakota Fox News at 9. Floodwaters ravage the north with another round of rain on the way. Plus, an incredible archaeological discovery at the bottom of the world's largest underwater cave. But first, after a week of bizarre, conflicting testimony, a few hours ago, we got a verdict in the Bowman Motel murder case.
This is West Dakota Fox News at 9 with Molly Martinez and meteorologist Henry Blakes. Your first news of the night starts right now on West Dakota Fox News at 9.
Good evening, I'm Molly Martinez. After almost 2 hours of deliberation, the jury found Chase Swanson and Madison West guilty of murdering Nicholas Johnson. The couple is convicted on all counts, including conspiracy to commit murder and theft of property. Tonight, reporter Daniela Hurtado sat down with the victim's family.
Molly, it's important to remember that through the long days of trial, the piles of evidence, and the countless testimonies, there's a family of a victim sitting in the courthouse listening to all those gruesome details of their loved one. In this instance, the family of Nicholas Johnson. I got to sit down with them, and Nick's family tells me he was kind, loving, and loved giving back to the community.
Guilty. Number 2, with respect
Nick's
to the
sister
evidence.
says Thursday's guilty conviction will help them with their grieving process as a family.
Nick was a good kid.
Remembered for his love of photography and strong family values.
Nick would have given you the shirt off his back if you would have asked.
A volunteer firefighter with dreams of battling forest fires.
Started hanging out at the fire hall with us, you know, as we liked that, and then he joined and loved being on the fire department.
Leaving behind a grieving older sister.
I mean, we had a good relationship.
His family says although shy, he was a jokester.
He loved scaring me, which wasn't funny.
They say the road to healing has only begun, but they're fortunate to have an army behind them. Nick's family tells me the convictions don't really serve as closure, but they do say it puts monsters like Swanson and West behind bars. West and Swanson will be having a pre-sentencing investigation, and a sentencing hearing will be scheduled for a later time. Reporting in Dickinson for NBC North Dakota News, I'm Daniela Hurtado.
Let's throw it over to meteorologist Henry Blake for our first check on weather.
More details and your complete forecast in just a few minutes.
Thanks, Henry. New details tonight in a deadly shootout near Woodworth. Stutsman County authorities say the victim led officers on a high-speed chase north of Medina around noon yesterday. During that pursuit, officers say a man fired at them. They say the man eventually became stuck, got out of his car, and continued firing. Officers returned fire, killing him. 2 deputies are now on administrative leave. And 2 people are under arrest tonight in connection with a second day of threats to schools in the Turtle Mountains. Administrators say threats were made on Facebook. They prompted a district-wide lockdown. Students were sent home shortly before noon. After meeting with law enforcement and tribal leaders, the district canceled school for tomorrow so staff can meet to discuss what happened.
We're working with implementing proactive strategies to address the issues of what's been going on. Like I said, we're working very closely with the Belkert PD. We're also working with the IHS, the tribal government, human services to help our students.
Tribal officers and the Skydancer Casino also went into temporary lockdown. Classes will resume normal hours on Monday. Meantime, superintendents say classes will not be dismissed in Bismarck for any walkouts in support of the Florida high school shooting victims or gun control. School officials did, however, send out guidelines to principals after parents had questions about the walkouts. The guidelines read, if teachers want to take personal leave in March, they may do so. If students get parent permission to leave in March, they may do so as an excused absence. If students do not get parent permission, they will receive an unexcused absence. Well, it's a busy day at the Capitol. The Government Administration Committee hammers out 2 major issues. First, a possible election day change, and also how to fund rural ambulances. Andrew Horn reports.
I don't know what you gain. We're just moving things to move things.
If the legislature tries to move local elections to November, it's going to have opposition.
There isn't going to be a cost savings by moving the election, some of the election candidates or issues to November when the election in June still has to happen.
A legislative study is looking at moving city and school board elections to November. The belief is that it would increase voter turnout and save money. But both of these points came back inconclusive. Lauser says a bill won't change voter habits.
it's crucial that every primary election season in June and general election season in November, people are informed and they vote.
These are not new concepts.
The committee also has to find a balance between emergency medical system coverage across the state and funding.
Many ambulance services in the state are just too good volunteers from being in a critical staffing crisis.
The North Dakota Department of Health says one option is quick response units. The units would be made up of emergency medical responders, which need less training than EMTs.
There would be a reduction ultimately in the number of transporting ambulance services in order to basically meet the needs of the system, but an increase in the numbers of quick response units within the state.
Both Tracy and Weidrich say in some places it works, but there's no consensus yet. For West Dakota Fox, I'm Andrew Horn.
Well, this week marks 1 year since the closure of the Dakota Access Pipeline protest camps. Today, protesters marched from the Cannonball Bridge to the Backwater Bridge. Observers sang and prayed while stopping to honor the original campsite. And an update tonight in the fate of a Bismarck emergency shelter. We've just learned MSA United Way will lease 2 floors of the Sunrise Apartments for shelter space. 1 floor will be for men and the other will be for women and children. Building owners say existing tenants won't be affected. The 2 wings will be separated from the apartments with a secure door. There will also be security at the building every night. In Olympic news, for the first time since 1998, the U.S. women's hockey team brings home the gold. And a pair of North Dakotans played a big part in the final moments of the game. In the third period, Grand Forks native Monique Lamoureux broke away to shoot the game-tying goal. After that, the game went into a scoreless overtime, then into a shootout. That's when Monique's sister, Jocelyn Lamoureux, came up big. She was the 6th shooter to take on the ice. She sneaks past the Canadian goaltender and tucks the puck home, putting the U.S. up by 1. Team USA's goaltender blocked the final shooter from Canada to win the game 3-2. This was the first shootout in Olympic women's hockey history. And we have reaction from Jocelyn on what it was like scoring that game-winning goal. Take a listen.
I'm just so happy I could help in any way possible, and I've pictured and visualized moments like that thousands of times, and for it to just to get the nod and for the coach to throw me out there, there was no doubt that it was going to go our way.
Jocelyn and her sister Monique were members of the past 2 U.S. women's Olympic teams that took home silver medals in 2010 and 2014. They lost both of those games to Canada, but last night the sisters and Team USA finally got their redemption. A Bismarck woman who lived next to Monique and her sister Jocelyn Lamoureux in Grand Forks is excited to see a couple of local women achieve Olympic greatness.
It was just very delightful this morning to wake up and see what had happened, because I was too tired last night to stay up and watch, and honestly I thought they were going to lose, and I didn't want to watch that because Canada has won so many times. So yep, it was a great feeling.
February 22nd is the anniversary of another dramatic American Olympic hockey victory. The Miracle on Ice occurred on this day in 1980 when the Americans men's team defeated the Soviet Union. Survivors from the Marjorie Stoneman High School shooting made their way home today after a 2-day journey to Tallahassee to confront lawmakers on gun control. Students say they'll keep up the momentum for as long as it takes to see real change. Fox News correspondent Robert Gray reports.
Florida students head back to Broward County. Their mission was to bring their gun control demands directly to state lawmakers. Discussions focused on banning assault rifles, raising the minimum age to purchase a gun, and longer waiting periods. At a massive rally outside the Tallahassee Capitol, Washington was put on notice.
To Congress, you are directly responsible for every community that is lost due to gun violence, and you have the power to change this. And if you don't, then we will change you.
Still, some students worry about being taken seriously.
We've heard enough of "we are so strong, we are so powerful," because that is not why we are here today. We are not here to be patted on the back.
Wednesday marked 1 week since the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Students across the nation protested legislative inaction by walking out of class. Some demonstrations lasted 17 minutes, the exact number of people killed in Parkland. Back in South Florida, there's a different kind of gun conversation. Authorities are still investigating last week's massacre, like why the school's armed deputy did not intervene.
He's got a firearm, he's got his training, he was prepared to do something about it.
In Washington, Paul Manafort faces 32 new charges in the Mueller investigation. This as a judge denies a bail modification request by the former Trump campaign chairman. Manafort, who pleaded not guilty, asked to be released from house arrest and allowed to swap the houses he's using to back his $10 million bail. The judge denied that request. A ferry blast injures over 24 people, including 2 North Dakotans, at a popular tourist spot in Mexico. The explosion happening yesterday in Playa del Carmen. Police say at least 25 people suffered non-life-threatening injuries. The cause of that explosion is under investigation. Los Angeles fire crews were able to put out a brush fire that sparked last night in the Topanga State Park. Flames were first reported around 6:30 p.m. and grew to cover 3/4 of an acre before being fully contained around 9:45. Firefighters had to hike nearly 2 miles through rough terrain to get to the fire near the Pacific Palisades. And floodwaters continue to rise in Lansing, Michigan. Right now, the mayor of the city has declared a state of emergency. Businesses, homes, streets, and highways are all submerged as people voluntarily evacuate their homes. Authorities say the flooding has been going on for a couple days and will not stop for another week. Severe flooding in Illinois leading to dangerous conditions for drivers. Crews having to rescue several people from their flooded cars. One woman can be seen on top of her vehicle as the water closes in around her, while several other cars can be submerged in the streets. And a rescue caught on camera in Wichita. Emergency crews receiving a call around 7 this morning that a driver was stuck in a vehicle that was submerged in the Arkansas River. According to crews, the driver hit a slick spot on the road and lost control of his car. The driver is now recovering and is expected to be okay. And icy conditions are making things miserable for Oklahoma drivers, and first responders are no exception. This is the scene earlier today in Oklahoma City where a fire truck lost control on a slick road and flipped over. Firefighters say they were headed to a call when they started down an icy hill and couldn't stop the 40,000-pound rig. 4 firefighters were inside the truck when it crashed, but none of them was hurt. In Egypt, a toddler survives a harrowing ordeal thanks to some alert police officers. 3 police officers spotted the boy who was dangling off a balcony last week. One officer grabbed up a rolled up carpet and the other officer waited below as the boy plunged 3 stories. The boy was caught by one of the officers, as you can see there. They fell to the ground, but everyone is okay. Back stateside, a cannabis church is suing a San Diego police department for more than $1 million. Earlier this month, police raided the Sacred Source Sanctuary Church. Members say the officers broke equipment, damaged their property, and took cannabis. Police arrested 5 people at the church for selling marijuana without a business permit. They also seized marijuana, cash, and a handgun. The church's attorney says, quote, "A church is not a marijuana dispensary." And after 10 months of exploration, scientists uncovered the largest underwater cave system in the world. Located near the beach resort of Tulum, the flooded caves are 216 miles long. At more than 10,000 years old, the cave's discovery has rocked the archaeological world. Researchers already finding nearly 200 artifacts which appear to be from an ancient Mayan civilization. Over now to another rare find, meteorologist Henry Blakes.
Hey.
Today we're learning Snapchat's 27-year-old CEO made $638 million last year. According to a company filing today, the vast majority of Spiegel's millions came from a one-time stock award from taking his company public in March. And there's still some time to celebrate. Today is National Margarita Day. Margarita is a cocktail containing tequila, triple sec, and lemon juice, but the main ingredient is freshly squeezed lime juice. It's known to be the most common tequila-based cocktail served in the United States. Now over to another reason for fiesta, meteorologist Henry Blakes.
Hey, in case you have plans taking you east of Bismarck along the interstate into Jamestown, Fargo, or even down south in Aberdeen, just be aware it is snowing and accumulation will be possible. Not expecting high amounts, but possibly 2 to 4 inches in some areas will be likely. But hey, we've got a nice weekend ahead.
All right, salt your margaritas and salt your roads. We'll see you tomorrow.